So because I work in the Akashic Records and I do that for myself and with clients, and that's very much a formless field. And so
yes.
I have a lot of experience with going back and forth between the formless and the form, the worlds of formless and form. But here's where I get kind of hung up with that. In this lifetime, in childhood, I had a lot of trauma, various kinds, very intense. And so I would go into the formless realms when things were too intense, and then, come back later. And
right.
So there's some in my nervous system, and I don't know if it's just this lifetime, I really don't know, but I'm starting to really recognize that one of the things that happens when I work in the Akashic and when I do a lot of work with the formless realms, which I love, I feel amazing, but then I'll be back in 3D reality, and at some point, some hours later or a day or two later, or I don't know how the timing works, but then it's like there have been landmines, like if something explodes, like I call it an explosion of dark light, or like the part of me goes into fear. And one, from a psychological perspective, I was told that there's, in my nervous system, or it's more bioenergetic, that there's the brain itself, the nervous system has marked those high alpha theta states as being trauma related when they're not. At this point, they're not. I don't really have any current time trauma. So right. I've been really working to defuse and kind of untie the knots, disentangle that connection of it's like right. And I don't know if I guess that's coming from the ego. It's definitely a protective part.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
I think you're going to.
Yeah, it's like emotional flashbacks that happen so subtly. I only recently realized right. they were flashbacks and not triggers. So I'm trying to get to them as quickly as possible. I'm actually achieving this some of the time, and just then, dismantling them then. And so anyway, the other piece I'll say, and then I'll be quiet and listen, is I really appreciate your reiteration of when you clear something, take charge of what you fill with.
Yes. Oh, so important.
Great reminder.
Oh, I'm so glad. Yes. In this situation you're facing too with your nervous system, those little flashbacks are a key that lets you know, a clue that lets you know that the maintaining of these sort of subconscious markers, those markers are traumatized versions of you in the past, and they didn't go anywhere. Okay. And so it's not so much looking at the brain as a machine in this case, even though it is. Instead, you're going to go in and say, well, how, what exactly, when and how did the brain connect trauma to these high states? Because perhaps during times of trauma, you went into detachment. You see how detachment can be an outcome of something that's not always pleasant, right? And detachment can also cause your brain to go into a formless state, to shoot out into another dimension altogether, to avoid the pain of the trauma happening in that moment. And so now when you're detaching, or when you're in a non-attached state, your body says, oh, she's detached, so something bad must be going on. And that's because of those frozen selves. So if you can heal them, if you can go back to start with your newborn self, you'll find her, and you pick her up, and you have a little talk with her, and you let the newborn little baby you know that she's safe, and you take her to a safe place, and you spend time with her in that safe place, and you let her know that you're always there for her, and you meet her needs, and then you let her stay there in that new place, that new timeline. You can remove very systematically, one by one, all of the hooks that the subconscious has in your nervous system. This will end the fight or flight response that is relating to these high states of consciousness. It's the exact way to do it. Does that feel right to you?